Thank you so much for doing this, John.
No problem.
As always, incredible weekend here in Las Vegas. I just want to kind of overall get your thoughts on the biggest ADCC championships of all time.
First off, the event itself, just forget about the athletes for 1 second, just the event was incredible. This is the first time I think the grappling world got to take a look at itself as a sport that can start to be taken seriously. It was people looked at it and say, hey, this looks like what you expect with a mainstream sports event. There was a degree of participation from the audience which you would normally associate with like basketball or hockey or something like that. So there's a sense in which this event was kind of like a coming of age for jiu-jitsu and grappling as a professional sport. It's a signal for the future, and I think everyone here got a sense of that, and I'm eternally grateful to the people who put this together as a venue where grapplers can start to see possibilities for the future as an autonomous and semi-mainstream sport. So as an event, I'm literally delighted, and I think I speak for a lot of people here who were similarly delighted as they looked around and said, hey, this sport has come a long, long way.
As someone who kind of loves jiu-jitsu, lives the jiu-jitsu, what did it mean to you to see everybody here, cheering and being involved, like you said, as somebody who just loves this sport so much?
When I'm in a professional capacity, I keep everything cold. Like I don't get drawn into the whole emotional aspect. But when it was over and I looked around, and then you can let some emotion in, it was a special feeling. Like you realize how far the sport has come. It still has a way to go. It's not over yet. But that was the first concrete sign of what the future holds in terms of possibility for jiu-jitsu, professional grappling as a sport. And it was impressive to be a part of.
You've seen the evolution, many, many years. How did we get here?
It began with the link between jiu-jitsu and MMA, and I still think that's a very important link. I still think a lot of people become interested in jiu-jitsu because they get exposed to MMA. But there's also a sense in which MMA and jiu-jitsu are pulling apart because jiu-jitsu is starting to stand on its own legs. And so currently MMA is like an adult and jiu-jitsu is like a growing child. And there's still growth that's needed, but there's a sense in which there's a kind of coming of age. And that's what this event was about. And as I said earlier, it bodes well for the future. Like any sport, what jiu-jitsu needs is great characters. And there were a bunch of people in this event who were indeed great characters. Obviously you have Gordon Ryan, but there were others too. I thought Nicholas Meregali really stood out. The Ruotolo brothers, amazing. They put on incredible performances. Mika Galvão, I thought was incredible. It was just there was a sense in which there were a room full of great characters. And as the sport develops characters and heroes, it'll grow.
Wanted to talk about a few of your athletes' performances. Maybe we can start with Nicholas Meregali. Not many people expected him to do maybe as well as he did. His ADCC debut. He's only been working with you for maybe 6 to 8 months. Just wanted to get your thoughts on his performance and what you thought.
Nicholas Meregali is a truly remarkable person. When you think about, imagine the guy said to you, hey, I've got this guy, he's really good at jiu-jitsu, very, very good. But he's literally never trained without a gi in his life. We're going to take him to ADCC 5 months from now. How do you think he'll do? I'd laugh at you. I'd be like, what are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. Like, he's going to get fucking destroyed. He's going to get leg locked in 5 minutes. And yet Nicholas Meregali did exactly that. Came out with a bronze and a silver medal. And he lost a decision to Craig Jones, which was like a coin flip. Could easily have been fighting for silver or gold. Incredible debut performance. The amount of progress he's made in such a short time. He's been living in America for 6 months. But remember, he lost a month of training to get ready for gi worlds. So really, he's been training around 5 to 6 months, no gi. He literally didn't even know what a single leg takedown was when he started. He'd never done a takedown in his life. And here he was going with one of the greatest takedown artists in contemporary grappling and going toe-to-toe with him. I was just incredibly impressed. He's battled through a lot this year. He had a terrible rib injury when he fought for the World Championship at the Gi at the Mundials, and fought through that and won the open weight. He fought through terrible shoulder injury, wrist injury, and still the lingering after effects of his rib injury all through this camp, and walked away with minimal training time with a silver and a bronze medal. I mean, I can't even express how impressed I am by this young man.
One of the things I was most impressed with was his wrestling. I've watched Nicholas Meregali since he was a purple belt. I've never seen him wrestle before.
I've never seen him perform a takedown, and now he enjoys that more than anything else. And so yeah, I was just incredibly impressed. He's a true character, and I think it's people like him who are going to help the sport grow, because they have a presence in front of a crowd which is unusual. There's many great athletes, but there's not many great performers. And Nicholas Meregali he's an athlete and a performer. And when people come out, you see the audience reaction. There's something he's got. He's got that star quality. And 2 years from now, when he's got more experience without the gi under his belt, he's going to be a very difficult person to contend with, let me tell you.
I think he very clearly has a different mindset than a lot of the other athletes around. What is it that makes Nicholas so special?
Part of it is he's extremely confident, and that's why I see so much potential for him in the future. Because when he works with the gi, he feels like he has an answer to every potential problem. And so that fills him with a confidence that makes him almost unstoppable when he works with the gi. But he still thinks, and he often says to me, John, I don't have all the technical nuances down for everything. And so it holds me back. And I get the feeling there's going to be a day, a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years from now, where he realizes he's got all the answers, no gi. And you're going to see that same unstoppable confidence that you see when he works with a gi. And how long it takes, no one knows. But I get the feeling you're going to see it. And you saw the hint of things to come this weekend. And already he's walked away with a silver and a bronze medal. But he's a special person and a great performer. And once he fills in the gaps in knowledge, you're going to see some special work out of Nicholas Meregali.
Clearly, the breakout star of the tournament has got to be Giancarlo Bodoni. What can you tell us about this young man who just wowed everybody this weekend?
Yeah, it's that was one of the most impressive debuts I've ever seen in my life. Giancarlo told me it's been 11 months since he started training with us. I remember about a year ago, Giancarlo had been beaten by heel hook for like the 10th time in a local tournament by some random blue belt. And he was like, John, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm having a hard time making the no-gi adaptation. Everyone's leg locking me. I can't get started. We had the big team breakup after Puerto Rico, and people started asking, hey, if you're not training these guys anymore, can I train with you? And Giancarlo was one of them. Most of them drifted off when they saw what the training schedule is like. They last a week and they're like, I can't take this anymore, and they leave. Giancarlo just showed up every single day, 3 times a day. Everything you show him, he tries to use the very next training session. Many people get shown things, not many people utilize them. And in a staggeringly short time, he started becoming a real force on the mat. But being a force on the mat in the gym is one thing, being a force on stage is another. And there was a period where he was killing it in the gym, but was getting good, but not great results on stage. And then one day, I had a conversation with him where he had submitted 3 world champions back-to-back in the gym a weekend after he had lost in a local tournament. And I said, Giancarlo, you just submitted 3 world champions in 3 different rounds back-to-back. Do you think that guy you lost to last week was as good as any one of them? He's like, no. And I said, well, so what's happening on stage? He's like, I'm holding myself back. I said, exactly. I said, stop doing it. The next weekend after that, he went out, won every match, effortlessly. And since then, he's just been building and building and building. And it was obvious that there was going to come a day where Giancarlo figured out the hardest thing in the world to figure out, which is how good are you? Not many people know their true worth. You can make mistakes in two different ways. You can overvalue yourself or you can undervalue yourself. Giancarlo had spent a career undervaluing himself. And then one day he figured out, hey, I'm fucking good. And that day was this weekend. He came in, looked so calm, so confident, followed every directive that Gordon and I gave him, and just went from strength to strength. And in the end, the only one that could stop him was his own teammate, who's a weight category higher than him. Just an amazing performance. I was blown away by it, and I think unequivocally one of the great debuts of history. And almost every match by submission, and the one match he didn't finish by submission, he was literally like 3 seconds away from submitting the guy when time ran out. So effectively it was a tournament where he won every match by submission. And I can't even tell you how impressed I am by him, not only as an athlete but as a character. Let's understand something about his final match. He fought Lucas Barbosa, who's one of the most accomplished grapplers of our generation. Giancarlo has lost to Lucas Barbosa 5 times before. They fought 5 times and he lost 5 times. It's so hard to go out against someone you've lost to 5 times before, 100% failure rate, and say, this time it's going to be different. Because in your mind, you lost 5 times to a guy, you're kind of thinking, like, this guy's got me beat, no matter what I do. To be able to put that past behind you and say, no, I'm a different fucking athlete now than I was those other 5 times. I'm different. A year has gone by. I've been training with this crew. Now you face me, you're not facing the same guy that you beat 5 times. And then go out, dominate that guy, and submit him. That's fucking impressive. You don't see that very often. And so my hat goes off to Giancarlo. What an amazing young man he is. What a great potential he's got for the future. And again, this is just his start. This is 1 year of training. Now imagine 2 years from now, when he's got 3 years under his belt. There's another ADCC coming. That kid is going to be a force.
I was going to ask, what does a performance like that do for a young athlete to transform his life, his career going forward?
It does one of 2 possibilities. It either makes you raise your standards even further, or it makes you lazy and complacent. My job is to make sure it's the first one of those 2 options, not the second.
And then I wanted to move on to Gordon Ryan, of course. The reason, one of the biggest reasons why we're all here, why there's 15,000 people out there, and he delivered. What can you say about Gordon Ryan's performance out there?
It's hard to say anything. That young man is he's a truly impressive person and grappler. When you think about the level of risk that both he and the promoters took in allowing him to do a weight division, I mean, he could have been injured in the first match. He could have torn a rib. Anything can happen. It's a grappling match. What if someone had just jumped guard on him and broken his knee? But the level of confidence that he has is contagious. And the promoters were like, let's do it. And I remember there were so many worries in my mind. I was thinking, like, what if he has on Sunday morning, like, 2 really hard back-to-back matches? What if each match goes double overtime? Now he has to fight Andre Galvão, exhausted. All these things were going through my head. What does he do? Goes out, his first match is like 7 seconds. His next match after that is a minute. It just blows through 2 people that are incredibly tough. And then goes out to to fight, and I'm just thinking like, my God, is there nothing this young man can't do? His camp was one of the longest, in my experience, the longest I ever saw, because he had to fight Pedro Mourinho, Felipe Pena, and now a whole weekend of fighting, back to back, culminating in the greatest ADCC champion of all time. It's been a long road for Gordon Ryan, and he just goes from strength to strength, all the way adapting and learning new technique, and then exhibiting it flawlessly on stage. I can't say enough good things, and he's just he's a once in a generation athlete, and to have someone like that exhibiting the methods and philosophy that we teach, it's something I'll always be eternally grateful for.
Can you give me your thoughts on the Andre match? Did it go according to plan, or?
Yeah, it did. Obviously, it was a situation where Andre had to play a match so tactically perfect in order to win that it would require a certain degree of naivety on Gordon's part to allow the precise tactics required for Andre to get his victory. Really, Andre had to keep it in a standing position. Now, just keeping a jiu-jitsu match in a standing position for 20 minutes, that's tough just to begin with. But it's even tougher when you have the security, you can literally walk forward and just put your arms up over your head. And if he doesn't shoot, he's going to get hit for stalling calls. And if he does, he's dead, because he's going to go to the ground with you. When you have that level of technical dominance, it's really hard for the tactician to sustain it for such a long match. So I think Andre got a sense of that very early in the fight. And the fighter in Andre just said, you know what, then to hell with it. If he wants to go to the ground, let's do this. And he hit a quick double leg. And then, 20 minutes on the ground with Gordon Ryan, it's going to be tough. And I thought Andre fought like a lion. He fought with pride and dignity, and he gave Gordon a tough match. And obviously, when Gordon gets your back, it's like hell on earth. And he impressed me both as an athlete and as a person. And I feel like Andre lost the match, but gained massively in character and soul. And afterwards, I think it resolved a lot of issues he was dealing with in his mind in the preparation time. And so I was very impressed by him, both as an athlete and as a human being.
Obviously, Gordon continues to just wow us over and over, but I wanted to ask you what you thought was the most impressive thing that Gordon did this weekend.
Part of it is the breadth of his technique, like the fact that he just does everything so well. There's just no obvious weak point. Like most athletes, there's always some area of weakness that you can hammer on and you can break through. With Gordon, man, it's hard to find anything. And I'll talk about this in more depth because there's 1,000 things I could say, and I know you just want a quick interview now, but
take your time.
At some point in the future we'll discuss it, because there was a lot going on there. And obviously, people think, in Gordon's last fight, he fought for a no time limit match, so people were shocked to see Gordon taking so long to get moves done. And you saw this today, when Gordon wants to finish something quickly, it's going to be over in less than a minute. And so there's a sense then in which he's almost in control of how long matches are going to be at this point, where it's like, if I want a short match, I'll finish it now. If I want a long match, I'll let it go. Like, there's a level of control over every single aspect of the match, which is just truly extraordinary.
How did he develop that? How did we get here?
Well, it all begins with skill. Skill development is literally 95% of the sport. And most of the things that other people attribute winning and losing to can always be linked back to skill, like confidence. People go, without confidence, you'll never succeed. Or without skill, you'll never develop confidence. Like, everything's rooted in skill. And Gordon, more than anything else, is proud of his skills. And people talk about tactics. Well, your ability to embody tactics is dependent upon the skills you have to manifest them in the first place. You don't have skills, you talk all day about tactics. You're never going to be able to actually enact them. So his whole thing is just work on skills. If you're not learning new skills, if you're not refining existing skills, you're falling behind. And so there's this culture that I try to build in the room of skill before everything. That skill is what defines who you are as a person and defines how far you'll go and progress as a person. And as long as you stay true to that, you're going to continue making forward progress. And Gordon's been doing it longer than anyone else and at a rate greater than anyone else. In addition, Gordon is an extremely adept problem solver. Many of the things he works on now are his own adaptations of ideas and principles that I teach. And he's gone beyond what I teach. And it's just truly impressive to watch.
When you see 12,000 people cheering for Gordon, and he had a meet and greet the other day where there's a line around this entire place of 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds taking pictures with him. I'm just wondering, what does that mean to you to see the world of jiu-jitsu embrace an athlete so much like him?
For me, it's actually funny for me to watch because I know my athletes very well, and we hang out 7 days a week for many hours a day, and so we all get to see what we're really like. And most people only associate with Gordon through his social media image, and so they tend to either be people that love him or people that hate him. But then when they actually meet him in situations like this, they get to see what I see every day, which is actually a very nice, congenial, warm-hearted person who's more than willing to sit for long periods of time and help people answer questions, sign autographs, take photographs. He's very generous with his time, far more so than many of the athletes who have much more friendly-looking social media personalities, but who don't express that in real life. He's just a very genuine person, and he deeply cares about the sport, and he deeply cares about his own performance of the sport. And he's never happy unless he feels his performance meets his own expectations. And I think people get a sense of that. When they meet him in person, they're like, wow, this guy is a very impressive person. And so I'm always happy when I see him interacting like this. I did get a bit worried though. I was like, Gordon, you sure you want to do a 3-hour meet and greet when you're fighting Andre Gavin tomorrow and Nicky Rod and all these tough guys? Like, maybe take a break. But he was like, no, he went out and did it. So.
Not much is known about the next ADCC, but one thing we do know is that Yuri Samois and Gordon Ryan will fight. Just wanted to quickly get your thoughts out maybe on that.
I think it's a fascinating matchup. They obviously have a history. They met very early in Gordon's career at an old EBI many years ago. How long ago was that now?
Like 16?
Yeah, I think we're going back like 5, 6, possibly 6 years. Gordon was just making a name for himself. He won his first EBI. He was unknown before that. I believe he was a brown belt at the time. Or I think we had to promote him to black belt just to get him into EBI. They weren't accepting non-black belts, so I had to give him a fake black belt to get him into EBI. And he was completely unknown. And he defeated Yuri Samois in the semi-finals, if I remember correctly, in EBI overtime. And Yuri was a legend at the time. He was an ADCC champion. And then he went on to win another ADCC the same year Gordon won. And you now have this fascinating situation where Gordon Ryan is the first man in history to win 3 ADCC titles in 3 different weight categories. Yuri is one of, I think, only two people besides him and Gordon Ryan who have won ADCC gold in 2 different weight categories, and he's won an absolute. So now he's won in 3 different weight categories. So they're the only 2 people walking on this planet who have won 3 gold medals in 3 different weight categories. And they're going to clash. They fought again at Kasai, and Gordon won by submission. So they know each other pretty well. They've done over half an hour of grappling with each other in live competition. Obviously, they've studied each other very deeply. They know each other very well. Yuri is a very powerful, physical, aggressive and confident fighter. He won't be intimidated by Gordon at all. He'll come out all guns blazing. He will have to play a tactically very sound game. He won't be able to match Gordon with submissions. He knows that. So it's going to have to be one of those matches where he has to find a way to score, probably in the standing position. And but what I like about Yuri is he's absolutely fearless as a competitor. He's got great confidence. He really believes in himself. He won't be intimidated by Gordon. Like many athletes come out with Gordon and they're gun shy. He won't be gun shy. He's going to come out, he's going to fight hard, fight with confidence. He knows he has a route to win. It's not the easiest route, but it is a route. And it's easier in ADCC than it is in any other rule set. So he's got 2 years to prepare. I know he's a really professional athlete. He's going to spend those 2 years in preparation. It's going to be a war. And one thing I know is that Yuri will be substantially different. It would have been at least 4 years since they fought, but Gordon will be different too. So it'll be 2 guys who knew each other well a long time ago, know each other's old games, but they've got 2 years to reinvent themselves. And a lot of things can happen in 2 years. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fascinating match.
I know it's been a long day, John. It's late. I don't want to keep you all day, but is there anything else that you wanted to say or anything else that impressed you this weekend that you wanted to talk about?
I was super impressed by the 77 kilo division. I thought Kate Ruotolo did an incredible job. That was one of the most stacked divisions in ADCC history. There was so much talent in that division this year. To win that with every match by submission is just deeply, deeply impressive. I think people got to see just how talented the Ruotolos are. Tai Ruotolo gave Nicholas a very tough fight in the open weight. He beat Felipe Pena in the open weight. Incredible. Like, really, really impressive. The lightweight division was fire this year. Like, people were worried about the lightweight division. They were like, there's no established names. It's an empty division. Man, the average age in that division was crazy. It was like 19. Those guys came out and put on an amazing show. So I was very, very happy with that. There were also some breakout stars who had never been to ADCC before, just won qualifying matches, and they've beaten legends of the sport. This is very, very impressive and shows very well how the future of the sport is progressing. In the old days, the invited guys would get matched with the trials winners and usually just crush them. There was a massive difference between the trials winners and the established veterans. This is no longer the case. Like, the trials winners now could be some guy from Poland you never heard of who can beat you, and it's really, really impressive to watch.
Back to work on Monday, Tuesday?
Back to work on Monday.
Awesome. Any last words that you would like to say?
I would like to say a very deep thanks to the ADCC organization for creating such an incredible venue. The level of professionalism compared with ADCCs of a decade ago, or going back even further, it's literally night and day. The jiu-jitsu community needs to be deeply appreciative of the people, in particular Mo Jasm, who worked for over a year and a half to get this show ready and invested a considerable amount of his own money and a massive amount of his own time to getting it done. The job he did was deeply, deeply impressive. And secondly, to the fans who came out in great numbers from all over the world. I've been walking around, I've met people from every part of the globe, and people came so far and to watch their heroes. And I'm so happy that they got to see a great show. So thank you so much to the organizers, and thank you so much to all of you fans. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I apologize for my voice. It's almost dying on me now, but I'm sure we'll see each other soon.